Hello, I am Gregory the Poor Typist, and I have a pen-related video for you here, as you can see. Now, in my collecting of fountain pens, especially in my price range, I've ended up with a lot of either small or normal-sized pens, which is all well and good, but the pens that seem the most impressive are always the big ones. So I have been on a mission lately to collect some bigger pens or add some bigger pens to my collection. This is not a big pen. Yeah, this is not a big pen, but we're using it for comparison purposes. This is the smallest pen in my collection. The Tashi FF10T from Oto, a Japanese pen, super tiny pocket pen, and yet when you post it, it's actually a normal size. Absolutely brilliant. I love it. But at the end of the day, it's a very thin pen. Even when you post it, it's still a thin pen. So, and with my arthritic hands, holding a thin pen for extended periods is not the most comfortable. But this is great for jotting down notes or, short journal entries, that sort of thing. Nevertheless, it's a super fun pen. I actually highly recommend it. But we're using it for comparison purposes here. So, also for comparison, this is, well, let's skip to this one actually. This is what I think most people would consider a normal sized pen. It's the Cross Calais. Just a normal sized pen. It's actually a really good writer with a medium nib. It puts down a ton of ink. Yeah, wonderful. I love it. Very simple, but a nice standard size pen. There you see it in comparison. Another pen that people will probably be much more familiar with is the TWSBI Go. And what I like about the TWSBI Go is the barrel is actually pretty thick. So yeah, I'm pleased about that. But the grip really tapers down to a very narrow grip. Nevertheless, it's still a sizable pen. So we'll put that there for comparison. So recently I heard about a series of Jinhao pens that were considered big and heavy. So this is the Jinhao X450. Not super big. It is very heavy, especially in comparison to the TWSBI Go. TWSBI Go being plastic, of course, is a very light pen. Yeah. And look at the nib on that. That is impressive. That is an impressive nib. I'm not good at the sizing, but I'm pretty sure that's a number 6 nib. Yeah, so that's a good size. Then we have, related to that, one step up maybe, is the X750. Just slightly bigger than the 450. Very nice looking pen. What I like about the 750 over the 450 is the silver instead of gold. But I did think the gold looked nice with this barrel color. So, but yes, there's the 750. This slightly bigger, a little more girth than the 450, a little bit heavier. And stepping up from that, I have a couple specimens of this particular pen, another Jinhao. This is known as being, I believe, the biggest Jinhao. So this is the 159. It's a big pen. Oh yeah, and these these screw off. Again, I believe that's a number 6 nib. Is this the... Yeah, this is just a bold nib. I believe that's a bold nib. Broad, I'm sorry. A broad nib. I was speaking in typographic terms. And I also have the same thing, 159 in purple. And the color is not... Well, if I hold it at this angle, that's pretty close to the color. It's a beautiful, beautiful shade of purple. And this has the Fude nib. So like a turned up nose. Now, one you might not consider big in one regard is actually the biggest pen in another regard. So lengthwise, this pen is not big at all. In fact, it's very, very small. But widthwise, or diameter, this is actually the biggest pen in my collection. And that is the Moonman Q1. I love this pen. I love it. It doesn't write quite as good, in my opinion, as the Moonman S5. My Moonman S5 is phenomenal. But this one is pretty darn close. And look how thick that is. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So this is definitely the thickest pen in my collection. You see that it's pretty small. Let's compare it to the Tashi. It is longer than the Tashi, but look at the girth. It's like Laurel and Hardy. Yeah. This is a good pen, and when you post it, it's actually much more comfortable. I can use it either way because I have small hands. Now you do lose a fair amount of the girth in the grip section, but it's not bad. And it's still, as far as grip sections go, it's a pretty thick one. So, love this pen, highly recommend it. I mean, just look at it, it's beautiful. And it's an eyedropper filled. Wonderful pen. All right, now, these are all well and good, but I was in the market for a really big pen. I mean, a big one. So I did some research, and I paid a little more just to add, like, you might say a flagship pen to my collection. And that is it. This is the Ranga Model 5. A huge pen. And absolutely gorgeous. You won't be able to pick it up, but sadly there are a couple light scratches in this area here. I actually got this from Fountain Pen Revolution, but it is a Ranga brand pen. absolutely stunning. This wasn't my first choice of color, just because when I have a blue pen, I feel like I have to put blue ink in it. But the other ones were sold out. So, and I do love blue. It is my favorite color. So yeah, plus you have this sort of aqua color in there as well. But my goodness, look at this thing. And you can't really post this. Let's be honest here. So even like that, it's a good length. What I love about this section on here, first of all, this section is very long. So the threads are way back here. You don't feel those at all. Whereas on the Q1, you can feel the threads. They're not like extremely uncomfortable or anything, but and because this is a big pen, I did get a broad nib. One thing I love is it has a very, very, there's a good look at it, a nice lip, because I hold my pens down very low, and if it doesn't have a lip there, you know, I'll occasionally slip down onto the feed or the nib. Yeah, but look at that, my goodness. What a gorgeous pen. So this is the pen we're going to ink up today. Look at that, beautiful. And again, for a comparison, let's move this guy over here. I'm even off camera there. There we go. Yeah, look at that. The king of all pens, in my collection anyway. All right, so let's ink this pen up, this one here, and do a writing sample. Okay, so we're ready for the inking process. I did choose a blue ink. I went the predictable route. This is Private Reserve American Blue. So that's what we're gonna use. And we're gonna ink this up. So I deemed it pretty much impossible to get that nib and section down in the ink enough to ink this up. So we're gonna do the little cheat of putting the converter itself in and ink it up that way. Okay, I made an inky mess of myself somehow. Now we are going to have to wait. So we'll put this in there good and tight. All right, so we're all inked up. Because I did just dip the converter in the ink, we're gonna have to wait for the feed to get filled up. So I will come back after, you know, maybe 15 minutes. That should be plenty of time. And we will give this a test. I'm very, very excited and a little bit anxious about it. I want this pen to work well because, again, it's definitely the flagship pen of my collection. Okay, so here we are for the writing sample, and I haven't given it the full like 10 or 15 minutes. I mentioned I'm a little anxious. I want to test this bad boy out. So let's just go for it. Okay, so this is the Ranga Model 5 with Private Reserve American blue. Wow. Okay. Before I do some further testing, I'm just going to give you just my initial impression. It's super smooth, just a hint of feedback. Wow, I'm very, very pleased. It puts down a ton of ink. And again, we'll test the wetness in just a moment. But yeah, that's quite nice. I love it. You see I have big, kind of sloppy writing. So, you know, a big inky pen fits my style perfectly. Now, as far as the ink, I was hoping it was going to be like a bolder blue. But you see it does tie in nicely with some of the darker blues in the pen itself. So, you know what? No real complaints. Yeah, very, very pleased. But let's continue. The nib, by the way, is a Bach nib. We did get some line width there. These 4 lines here were with a little more pressure. And a little bit of a... Uh-oh. Okay, so this is what happens when you're impatient and don't wait for the feed to saturate with ink. And again, if I had a full-size bottle, I would have just dipped the nib in and loaded it up that way. But because I was using a sample-size bottle, I pretty much had to just dip the converter in the ink. So I've waited a little longer. I gave the pen just a little bit of a shake. Not with the cap on and over paper. So let's see how this does now. Much better. It's not as wet as you would think it would be. Yeah. So you could probably hear the feedback there. Again, you don't really feel it. This thing is gliding. Yeah, so there's just a touch of feedback, at least on this Rhodia paper. I am quite pleased. This ink, I was hoping was going to be brighter, but likely because this is a broad nib. It's laying down a fair amount of ink, so it actually looks blue-black to me. But you do get some nice shading going on, so that is good. I am very, very pleased. So let's give my final impressions on the Ranga Model 5. Okay, so I am very impressed with this Ranga Model 5. I do like the Private Reserve American Blue. I probably would have liked to pick something a little more bold, I guess you would say. However, there's a lot of blue-black in this pen. So really, it's kind of a match made in heaven. Yeah, so very, very pleased. As far as where I purchased the pen, Fountain Pen Revolution, I'm a little disappointed. At this price point, you would think you would get a box or a case or something for for the pen, but it just came with bubble wrap, which was kind of a huge disappointment. And possibly because of that, somewhere along the line, it got these 2 fine scratches, which again, you probably won't see, but I see them. And again, at this price point, I wish they weren't there. But you know what? It's still a gorgeous pen. It's huge. I mean, just look at that. Definitely the flagship of my collection. And again, just for a comparison, compared to the Tashi. Yeah. So this is exactly what I was looking for in the way of a large pen that could just be impressive. Oh, a little skipping there. All right, as you saw there was some skipping, which is giving me concern. However, again, you know, I've been taking the cap off, putting it back on. So I'm going to put it down to that. I'm going to say this needs a good long soak of ink, much more than I have given it. But wait. So I just did another writing test off camera, and I'm not sure what was going on there. It was totally user error, I'm sure. It's writing beautifully again. So, whew, all is well. I was intending for this to be a quick video, but there you go. I want to show you in depth this pen, as well as some of my other big pens, but they're all dwarfed by this one. So, the Ranga Model 5 Private Reserve American Blue ink. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.